Warning. Entering the house of high strangeness may result in goosebumps, questioning reality, side effects of paranoia, and crushing amounts of cussing. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey everybody, welcome back to the House of High Strangeness podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Joe.
And I'm Rachel.
Dude. Hello.
Hi.
I hope you liked our last episode. Our little Reddit stories thing. Those are my favorite episodes, as I said in that episode.
Me too.
But today we have a banging case for you guys.
Banger. Like you know her, you know?
Banger like you know her. Or you don't. But we had to skip a week if you didn't notice, the three of you.
The four of you that listen and watch.
Yeah. I was having technical difficulties. Rachel was sicky on a sticky. But we're back with something extra crunchy today. So, follow us on all our platforms.
Yeah, if you don't mind, please rate and review us on the platform you are listening from.
Yes.
This really helps us grow and expand our findings to more humans.
Yeah.
Also, go check out our Instagram at House of High Strangeness and give us a follow.
That's right.
You can find all the photos and the videos there that we talk about on the video podcast, or just watch the video podcast on YouTube.
Yeah.
House of High Strangeness podcast. We also really love connecting to our listeners, and so if you don't mind, please send in your personal stories of strange encounters or weird phenomena that you've experienced or made up really cool, like something along the lines of like a Reddit story that you want us to read. Send it to our email, houseofhighstrangeness@gmail.com, and we will read it on air.
Your lore is important to us.
Get featured.
Get featured.
I'm gonna say that every time,
because you will be featured. We have a couple in the bank, but we're kind of waiting to give those out. So those of you who have sent them in, we appreciate you. Leave us a comment and let's do it, Rachel.
Okay, well, today we're talking about the strange death of Zigmund Adamski.
Ooh.
Possibly death by aliens? By
shoes?
Shoes?
By grumpy Brits?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll see.
By beans on toast?
A lot of people speculate that this is a abduction gone wrong, and the aliens maybe done something wrong, and he died.
It's good to know they made mistakes too.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
But first, let's get into who Zigmund Adamski is. I love his name, by the way.
Who are you?
Zigmund. His friends called him Ziggy.
Ziggy? That's badass.
Ziggy!
Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah.
And the spiders from Mars.
Adamski. And that's really fun to say, too. Adam.
I just call him Adam.
Adamski. Well, Zygmunt Adamski was born in Poland in 1923, and he immigrated / fled to England in 1945 when he was 22 years old after World War II. He was liked by his community, and he was very quiet, and he mainly kept to himself. He was known to be a dependable, quiet man. He worked as a coal miner at the Lofthouse Colliery. I think I said that right, colliery?
Yeah, sounds about right.
And he was in relatively good health for a coal miner.
Well, he sounds super chill.
Yeah, he's super chill. In 1951, he married his wife, Lottie, Lottie, which I love that name too.
That's a really great name.
Lottie.
That's a British name.
Yeah. She developed multiple sclerosis, which confined her to a wheelchair. And so Ziggy began taking time off work to care for her. Around the time of his disappearance, his own health was deteriorating. He had been off work for several months, suffered from a lung disease caused by coal dust that often made breathing difficult. His health had led him to apply for early retirement a request that was initially denied and at the time of his disappearance was a consistent issue. Ironically, his retirement was approved just one day after his body was discovered, which sucks.
Yeah.
That fucking sucks.
I feel like there's just a whole phenomena around that, shit that happens right before you retire,
Yeah.
Like that Alanis Morissette song. We'll get a copyright strike for that, but you know what song I'm talking about.
Yeah. Zygmunt's goddaughter was getting married. Woo! And he was worried, but also excited about the preparation needed for the ceremony. So on June 6th, 1980, Adamski and a close cousin, headed to Wakefield to buy a few things for the wedding, then returned home, and he ate an early dinner of fish and chips with his other relatives who arrived from Poland.
I love fish and chips.
I love fish and chips too.
Fish and chips is not where we live because we're a landlocked state, but
yeah.
But when you out on that coast
Damn.
or by a really big lake or it's really good. I like it.
Well, on the same day, June 6th, 1980, he had left his house around 3:30 p.m. to go run another errand after eating with his relatives in Poland. He told his wife that he was just going to run out to a local shop to buy potatoes. He left in a brown suit and a shirt with no luggage or passport or any of his belongings other than his wallet and spare change.
Okay.
On the way, he ran into an old neighbor and greeted him, and then he continued on to the store. The shopkeeper at the store Zygmunt went to said that he did in fact come into the shop and make his purchase and then left. Then that's kind of it. He just disappears. He went missing that night and never came home. When Adamski did not return home that evening, Lottie contacted Wakefield police to report his disappearance. But despite intensive police inquiries and an appeal in local newspapers, their investigations drew a blank.
Remind me never to go shopping for potatoes ever again. Or maybe I do want to do that. Maybe I go buy a sack of taters and then am I boring you? I'll get a sack of potatoes.
I'm sorry.
You're just going to have to listen. And then I'll get abducted.
You're going to make me cry.
And loved.
And
I'll be loved.
Damn. Like, if that's not...
Rachel, I love you.
Oh, God. I feel love bombed.
I love my sister. Yeah, that is... Yeah. I'm sorry. I should be saying it anyhow
I'm
without the circumstances of negativity. Okay, so out of this personal stuff, let's kind of dig out of that hole. Go ahead.
What was interesting about this case is that Zygmunt had no history with mental illness. He had no debts and no enemies. He wasn't carrying anything suspicious like luggage or a passport. It seemed that he had just vanished. In fact, he was looking forward to giving away his goddaughter at her wedding the day after he disappeared.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know. He even excitedly wrote a speech for the wedding. So it doesn't seem like he just ran off and left everything behind on his own. Right?
Right.
Right. Now, we're going to get into Yorkshire at the time. Yorkshire in 1980 was a very scary place. A big part of that was because the Yorkshire Ripper was still at large. From 1975 to 1980, a mass murder spree kept people terrified and anxious. Mainly women were being killed across West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester. And because of this, a lot of trust with the police and the authorities were declining. So people were in a state of constant fear because people had the lingering thought that they could be next, which meant that people were on the lookout, looking over their shoulders and reminding themselves to remember faces. This was also during the Cold War, so people were also used to watching the skies for any Russian planes, and this gave a sense of paranoia to the whole country. But there were those who had claimed to see objects in the sky that they could not name or recognize.
Yeah, the thing I like about this is people are so paranoid that they are taking pictures of the planes. You know, it's like, it's pretty rare that you see a picture Are those planes?
No, those are UFOs, player.
Oh, well, okay. You were talking about planes. Okay. I thought they were just taking pictures of planes because they were like, oh shit, there's a plane in the sky.
I was insinuating that since people were more prone to be looking up instead of down, they were seeing more UFOs.
I'm a confused old bat. I apologize.
That's okay.
That means I'm a vampire.
Ha ha.
No! Not again!
Every episode! It has to happen!
That's all it took.
Damn. I have 250 milligrams of caffeine in me right now.
That's cool. I think I have about the same. I had about like maybe 3 of those of coffee. I should have had tea.
UFO fever was at an all-time high in the UK. Throughout 1970, so an increase of sightings and reports were being made before Zygmunt even went missing. Now, Zygmunt's body gets found 5 days after he disappeared.
Okay.
And we're going to get into that and how that all pans out. So, one afternoon on June 11th, 1970, 2 police officers, Officer Malcolm Hagley and Officer Alan Godfrey, which remember Alan Godfrey because he comes back later. They both received a call that a body had been found. They truly didn't know that they were about to be thrusted into one of the biggest high stages mysteries of all time. It all started in a quiet town of Todmorden, where a man named Trevor Parker, who was the son of a Todmorden coal merchant, returned to the family business that sat near a train station not that far from a busy shopping center. He supposedly had been there earlier that day around 8:15 a.m., but didn't see anything strange in the yard. But later that evening, around 4 p.m., he saw something atop of a pile of coal that was definitely not there earlier. Now, may I add, the photo that you are seeing or you just saw is a reenactment. It is not the actual body of Zigmund Adamski. Okay?
Okay. Can I say one thing? It's a reenactment, so does that mean they placed this person laid down almost exactly the way he was placed? Like the knee up and everything?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be weird. Like, that's one thing I would pay attention to.
Yeah, same with the second photo you're about to see is in a reenactment. Right. Laying face up on top of a 15-foot pile of coals was a body. A man, obviously Zigmund Adamski, who looked like he was placed there, almost carefully and deliberately because the coal was not disturbed with any footprints or drag marks. It's important to mention that it had been raining that morning, so it would be very obvious if someone climbed up the pile of coal. It seems that he just appeared out of thin air. Trevor, of course, was very upset by this because he reported that he had never seen a body before and he was very shaken. But he did the right thing by immediately calling the police. Officer Malcolm Hagley was asked to head over to the train station for a better look, and then Officer Alan Godfrey tagged along with him. Of course, both of the officers' minds went straight to the worst possible scenario. The Yorkshire Ripper may have stricken again. Stroken. Taking it back to Loch Ness Monster episode.
Yeah.
I accidentally just licked my microphone. God. Okay. When they arrived at the scene, it was When they arrived at the scene, it was instantly clear that it was not the work of the serial killer because the body was male. They also noted that this was an odd instance because as Officer Hagley got up the pile of coals, he slipped and got completely covered in coal, gliding down the pile many times before finally getting to the top. Once he got a good look at the body, he called down to Officer Godfrey to get up and see for himself. So, isn't that weird?
Yeah, like I think some of the circumstances that my brain picked out immediately was that it was the Todmorden coal merchant's son. Like maybe that was, I don't know if that has any purpose, but it wasn't just another coal miner, you know. And then also that Zygmunt was a coal miner.
Right?
Like
That's
it's
so
like
weird.
It's almost like if it was an alien abduction, it would have been, I wonder if they were like, oh, he's got a bunch of freaking coal in his lungs and in his system, like this is probably where he belongs, so we'll just put him back here. Like this is probably where people are missing him, is this coal thing, because that's what makes up a lot of his body at this point. And then the other thing too is just by investigating, Godfrey is like doing all of the things that could have possibly been, left for Ziggy to be there,
Yeah.
So, like, just by investigating it, it's being proven that this is very strange off the bat.
Yeah, I just think it's weird in general that there was no like indication that there was a struggle of the pile of coals. That there was no coal that looked like it, fell down, or it like, especially if it rained and it kind of wore on the coal, they're all going to kind of stick together. And so when you step on wet, now maybe a little bit dry coal, it's going to like break, or you're going to obviously see some indents of people walking up it, but there's none.
Yeah.
No drag marks. So that's just so weird to me. But it's going to get even stranger. So it appeared that the man was in his 50s. Obviously, Zigmund, we know this. He was wearing a brown suit that looked like he had been dressed in a strangely hazard way after he died. His shirt was missing. His undershirt was missing. Instead, he was wearing a stringed vest underneath the jacket, which is kind of like a fishnet tank top.
Like a mesh, like...
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Like this picture, right?
You'd like... Yeah.
That's
yes.
so weird.
Why? Like, why? Like, why would he change his shirt? It's so weird. But also, his suit was completely clean. He had no coal on his suit other than what he was laying on. So he couldn't have gotten up on his own,
Yeah.
Also, there was no coal dust on his shoes. They were just completely shiny, perfectly great. There was no dust on the soles of his shoes either.
Like they were just like brand new shoes.
They were just his shoes. There was no like indication that there was coal on his shoes.
Right.
Which is just so weird. It seems like he had just been placed there, right? Maybe from like above.
Yeah. That's what I would guess.
Yeah.
Or he like just kind of like in the beginning you said he appeared there, so maybe he was just like foop, and he was just there.
Yeah, or maybe someone did, like some people did want to like put him on a pile of coal, and it maybe rained. It was still raining after they put him there, and so then the coal kind of like solidified, and it didn't really show any footprints maybe.
Well, that's my thing, is was it dry beneath him? Like, did it rain over him? Like, there wasn't anything on him, but like those are the kind of clues that I would look for, is like, is it rainy underneath him where he was placed there after the rain stopped? Or was he placed there before the rain started and it's dry underneath him?
I think that it was raining, and if, say, this happened, someone put him on top of the coal, like 3 people put him on top, and it was still raining. It would be wet underneath because it was raining before they put him there. They put him there, and then it rains and gets rid of all of their footprints and all of the evidence that they were even there, and maybe even the drag marks get, water eroded back into the pile of coals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's almost like a perfect scenario too for somebody. If it was like a non-supernatural thing, like it was like the Ripper, or it was somebody who accidentally killed him or something, or he did an accidental fall or whatever. Like, it's like if he was dropped from a spaceship 20 feet in the air, 6 feet in the air, stop fucking with me. 6 feet in the air, there would be an impact mark. Like, like when a rock falls from the atmosphere, there's a crater, On the other hand, like, the rain would have gotten rid of some of that stuff, but there would be rain on top of him, and it may not have been wet beneath him, so it's like, obviously these detectives not knowing that this might have been super insane. They didn't check for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or maybe like there was no coal on him because the rain washed it away. I don't know, but because I think he was wet, like, or damp when they found him.
Right.
So it's just weird.
Yeah. So it's like,
all worked.
But like the drop thing is like, if there wasn't any sort of inclination that his arm may have bounced to a different spot and left a mark from where his arm bounced,
yeah,
then that just leads me to believe that he just kind of appeared in that spot rather than dropping from somewhere.
Yeah, and it's also very weird because there's evidence that supports both claims. Maybe someone abducted him. I mean, he is from Poland. We'll get into that, and especially during the Cold War, it's like he might have had like enemies from that side of the curtain. Or he could have been abducted, because there's other evidence that I will now share with you.
Okay.
His wallet, watch, and wedding ring was gone, and they were never found. His pants were buttoned wrong, and his shoes and socks looked like they were put on for him. Like the shoes were tied too tightly, and the socks were backwards, and then like not all the way up his ankle, like he was dressed. The man looked roughly groomed, like not evenly groomed. His facial hair looked to be only a day old, which he was missing for 5 days.
Oh, weird.
That's so weird, huh?
Well, like when he was missing, he had the opportunity to shave the day before he died.
Yes.
And then he was alive for another day to where it would grow out.
Yeah, so that means that he was alive for at least 4 days.
Or there was a time warp thing where it's like...
Maybe.
Yeah.
There were some small scrapes and cuts on his hands, but it was what was on the back of his head and neck that raised the most questions.
Dude.
On the back of his head and neck, there was a black oval-shaped burn mark about 1 to 3 inches in diameter on his head, followed by another wound on the back of his neck that appeared to have been weeping. But what puzzled investigators most was that the wound appeared to have been treated with a strange yellowy green cream, a kind of ointment that was on his neck wounds. So it seemed that someone had tried to treat his burns.
I wish I could see pictures of that, because is it like a brand? Is it like more accidental? Was it like, can you tell by the burns, was it purposeful or was it accidental? I don't know. Like,
we'll get into it. We'll get into it. There's more that comes with the ointment. Officer Alan Godfrey said that he remembered most from that day in the state of the man's face. The man's eyes were wide open, mouth contorted, and Officer Alan Godfrey says in an interview, quote, do you want to say the quote?
Yeah. The first thing that struck me, I've seen quite a few dead bodies. Something about his eyes sent a shiver down your back. Have you heard the saying, he'd been frightened to death? That was the look on his face.
That was so good.
I know.
Great job.
Thank you.
In his own words, he continues by saying,
then I noticed his hair was cropped. On the crown of the head were these individual black burn marks in a ring. On the nape of his neck, there was an open wound, and it had a yellowy green substance smeared across it. He was wearing a jacket that was fastened in the wrong place, and under the jacket there was a white string vest, no shirt. This guy was dressed after death. Make no mistake, this guy didn't die here. There wasn't a mark of coal on him. I was completely wrong. I sound like Harry Potter.
That was really, I think that sounds good. I don't know.
I sound like Tom Holland. I don't look like him, though. I miss you, Tom.
No, Joe looks like
Please
Wayne
call
from
me back.
Wayne's World.
Excellent.
And I'm Garth.
Yeah. We're Wayne and Garth, but from Yorkshire. From Yorkshire. Yeah.
Okay.
let's do the next thing.
Okay. It took a long time for the police to identify the man. The police connected a missing persons report from a town 20 miles away called Tingley, where Zigmund and his wife lived. The man was identified as Zigmund Adamski, of course, a 56-year-old coal miner. Zigmund had not been seen in 5 days. Between the 7th of June and the 10th of June, there was no sightings or leads. June 11th, his body was found in the state it was in that state, and it was 20 miles away in Todmorden. So isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's way too far to walk. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, in 5 days, and his shoes are like pristine.
It's just weird how far away he got without I don't know. He didn't have a car.
Yeah.
It's just weird. After inspecting the crime scene and questioning Trevor Parker, Zigmund's body was taken to the coroner's office for an autopsy. His body was examined by the coroner and experts, and it was made clear that his body had been cleaned and well fed, and that there was still undigested food in his stomach with no signs of exposure to the elements. His beard growth indicated that he had been shaved just a day before his death.
Oh man, I totally guessed it.
That's good. When he left... That's good, Joe. Good for you.
Oh, that's good.
When he left to go to the grocery store on the 6th before he went missing, his hair was a bit messy and long, but when he was found, he definitely had a haircut. Again, he was wearing that vest that he did not leave the house with that day. And I don't think he even owned one of those. I remember seeing that in one source, but I didn't see it multiple times, so I didn't add it in. But I think his wife said that he'd even own a vest like that, like a stringed vest.
This is the thing that would be so motivating about being a detective is I have thousands of questions and thousands of people that I want to talk to that he could have had any sort of interaction with. Like I would have asked his wife and his family members, where does he go to get his haircuts? Where does he get his clothes? Where does he shop? What bus does he take? Could people have seen him at all? And I guess those indications there weren't any leads.
Yeah, there was no sightings.
Did people miss him other than his family and his work those 5 days?
Yeah, I mean, he had a bunch of family members coming into Poland for this wedding.
Yeah.
And that's very hard to do coming from Poland to England during the Cold War. That's like crossing enemy lines. So it's like there might be people who are in Poland that don't like Zigmund. I don't know. I'll get into that whole stuff.
Just didn't like him because he was trying to get from point A to point B that wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah. The coroner, James Turnbull, stated that the cause of death had been a natural one. The man suffered from a heart attack. The coroner said that the heart attack did not seem to be caused by anything specific. It's actually quite common to not know the exact cause of a heart attack, but his blood pressure, cholesterol, genetics, and inflammation looked pretty normal. So there were no obvious symptoms or signs that could have predicted a heart attack with the victim.
Ricin.
Too many Twinkie.
Too many Twinkie? Was it too many Twinkie or was it ricin? Was he poisoned or did he poison himself with Twinkie?
Too many cinnamon rice cakes.
He was kind of Twinkie. His little mesh shirt. That's kind of Twinkie. Maybe that much Twinkie gave him a little heart of Twinkie.
Okay, stop.
Go
That's so disrespectful.
My bad. Yeah, I'm sorry. That wasn't cool. This is my YouTuber apology.
Oh my God. Coroner James Turnbull says, quote, you want us to read the quote?
Yeah.
Okay.
The question of where he was before he died and what led to his death just could not be answered.
I sound like Sharon Osbourne. Whenever I do quotes, I'm going to put like whoever I'm emulating, like right here.
Ozzy.
Oh my god.
The reporters from the autopsy said that his burn marks on his neck were days old, which, go ahead.
Which that indicated that he had been alive for most of the time he was missing. Which lines up with the coroner's statement that he had a heart attack just hours before he was found in the coal yard.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Forensic experts attempted to test the ointment that was smothered over the wounds on the neck, but it wasn't any local or national pharmaceutical substance. There's nothing that you could buy in stores.
The alien just spit on it.
It fucking whacked off.
Yeah.
Just
gunked all over his neck.
Ejaculated all over it, yeah.
God.
Okay. This cream was not recognized by police toxicologists or forensic pathologists, and it still wasn't even identified. Exhaustive checks failed to reveal any record of him being treated at any hospital during his 5 days of absence.
We had the substance analysed, and the toxicologists and the scientists couldn't come up with any answers to what it was, and we came up against a blank at every line of investigation. This was one of the most puzzling cases that I've come across in 25 years.
So not quite Sharon Osbourne, but that's James Turnbull.
Not quite.
What was that sound?
I don't know. Maybe it was Josie. Maybe it was kiddos outside.
That did not sound like... It sounded like a guy going, ah.
I heard like a higher pitched, like, yeah, like that.
Okay. So there are still some unanswered questions. Where had he been for 5 days? Why was his body so cared for and clean? Who gave him the wounds, but yet cared for them with ointment? How did he get up on that coal hill without disturbing a single piece of coal? The longer this investigation stayed unsolved, the crazier the theories and speculation became, which we will get into pretty much at the end. But we're going to get into a few right now, but we're going to get into the big one at the end.
Okay.
Just 5 months after finding the body, leads dried up, no arrests were made, and it was well on its way of becoming a cold case. His wife ended up taking his body back to Poland where he was laid to rest, and she never returned to the UK. Now let's get into a few theories as to what people believe happened to Zigmund. First, the kidnapped theory! One theory suggests that Zigmund Adamski was abducted by a group of people who possibly held against his will. There was information going around that there was a family feud over the niece's marriage. Some speculated that Adamski had been involved with the domestic abuse involving a relative in the Polish immigrant community. This theory pretty much suggests that he was taken somewhere remote and held against his will until the dispute was dealt with. But this theory still leaves out a lot of questions and does not explain the lack of injuries, the unidentified cream, or the condition of his body. He hadn't been beaten or tied up, and he was, of course, taken care of. Also, might I add that if someone wanted to dispose of a body, they would have gently placed... Would they gently place him on top of a coal pile? To be easily spotted and seen.
Yeah, that's not a very normal human thing to do. Not a very normal murder or thing to do.
And especially where people frequently visited during like daylight hours. And of course, like, I believe that coal place was right next to a train station, but it wasn't necessarily visited all the time because it was kind of starting to close down. Todmorden was a very small town, and it was slowly deteriorating and just not really growing. There was like a lot of farmland and like deep woods, so it's just very weird.
I can understand why it was accepted. Like, I can understand... I mean, looking at it from all angles, the domestic problems leading to a place that is like he was taken care of, but he also died, you know? But the fact that he died of like natural causes too is just kind of weird. Like, oh man, like we upset him so much that he had a heart attack.
Shit, like, what do we do? Like, this is my great uncle, you know?
Like
I
we
don't
got to
know.
go place him somewhere, and maybe it was a framing technique to put him on a pile of coal in this place that's already shutting down in the middle of nowhere. Like maybe, you know, maybe somebody could drop a different conclusion than him actually dying at our kitchen table after he was depressed for a day and didn't shave, and then, you know, we take him out somewhere, you know. But
Yeah.
that doesn't account for the weird shit on his neck, his weird clothing and how it was put back together, him being missing for 5 days, you know?
Yeah, and then, like I said, Todd Morton is a very rural and industrial town. And during the 70s, a lot of mills were closed or closing down, and the economy was like declining rapidly. And the area was very isolated, and where there was no there was just like a lot of like big patches of woodlands, and it's just so easy to hide a body there. I'm not gonna lie. And so why would you put them or him right on top of a coal pile?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
This theory is more widely accepted. Let's get into the next one. I already said that part.
Yeah, whatever. No big deal.
War theory, kind of like what I was talking about before. This is another theory that this whole situation could have been self-inflicted. Maybe he wandered off in an altered state. Maybe he had a breakdown. Maybe he fell into a rough group of people, or perhaps took his own life. But this theory has more unanswered questions than any other theory. But there might be something here. At the time, Poland was firmly behind the Iron Curtain on the eastern side of the Cold War. For those who don't know, the Iron Curtain was a symbolic boundary that divided Europe after World War II. The western side of Europe was led by the United States and its allies, who were democratic and capitalist nations. The eastern part of Europe was controlled or just heavily influenced by the Soviet Union, who were communists and authoritarian governments. Poland was a part of the eastern side, so Poland was aligned with the Soviet Union. This makes an immigrant from the western side, aka the UK where Zygmunt lived, who comes to visit or anything, it just makes it very hard to have family in Poland and then him living in England, especially for the wedding. It's just like, anyway, the communist government often viewed returnees as very suspicious. They most likely would interrogate with questions similar to why did he immigrate, who he knew in the West, whether he had anti-socialist views or foreign contacts, etc. They'd interrogate him in fear that he would be influenced by capitalist propaganda, or in other words, be a spy. Zygmunt's wife Lottie was always pestering him to move back to Poland to be near family again, but he did not want to because of his political views, and he just worked so hard to get to where he was in life in England.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's finish this theory and then I have some thoughts.
Okay. There could possibly be a problem with the secret police if he was to go back. They'd monitor his every move. Also, if he didn't complete military service before leaving Poland, there was a risk he could be, returned back to war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once back in the country, which I couldn't find anything where he didn't finish anything, like his time with his military services. I don't know, but that could be a fear of people going back. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It's not necessarily with his case, but just saying like that's kind of why people would be kind of scared to go back or to visit or to move back or whatnot, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. If they found anything suspicious about him and his family, he could have lost his freedom to return to the UK. So this theory's claim is that he did not want to go back and randomly chose to go pick up potatoes, but really wanted to avoid going back to Poland. Also, this theory includes the thought that maybe Zygmunt got himself mixed up with the bad group of people on the other side, and maybe there was someone at the wedding he wanted to avoid because he felt that he'd in some way betray his country. I'm not sure, but the theories get more bizarre as we go. There was one theory that claimed that Zygmunt was assassinated by the KGB, but there was no ransom demanded.
So I wonder if he was. So I don't remember. Did any of his family or people he lived with in the UK know that he might have been involved with the government or the military of Poland at all? Did any of them?
I think that a lot of his family members are, and that he wasn't, because there was no mention that he was part of the military, which means and his family was, so there could be some conflicts there. You know what I mean?
So they were a part of the UK military or the Poland military?
Poland.
So
the Soviet Union.
So he was in the UK trying to get to Poland?
No, there's people from Poland coming into the UK, and he might have been wanting to avoid some family members or avoid disputes or some sort of pressure to go back to Poland, especially since Lottie wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like they might, have him or they might have her go back to Poland and leave him there. Like there's just like a lot of family drama that was very picked through, I guess, in my sources, where I couldn't really figure out exactly what's happening.
I like this theory because it could have been like the spy theory where I'm just a coal miner and I'm just, a quiet, shy person and I kind of do my own thing and I have my own beliefs in my politics. Like, I'm not going to just follow through what my family in Poland does under the Soviet Union. I'm more on the US, the UK kind of side of things. And maybe he was just like a secret agent trying to make a living that way. Under his beliefs, and they found out somehow, hence the domestic abuse by some of his family members, and the wedding the next day, like a big family gathering, after somebody already figured it out, and then almost as a mockery, they set his body on a coal pile where he worked.
Yes, and that makes a lot of sense. With his family, in sources, it was never outrightly said that his family was aggressive and abusive, but it alluded to it, and that they were the type of people that could maybe, take him aside, kind of like kidnap him, and be like, you need to come back to Poland or you're not leaving this room. You know what I mean?
Well, and then it kind of brings up the fact of if it was self-inflicted, and he was just so stressed out that he had a fucking heart attack or took something that induced a heart attack. And he just I don't know. It's just because all the stuff in between. It's like if there wasn't any neck bullshit and it looked like he did climb up onto that coal hill, like he could have, it could have been a guilt thing. Like, I'm so ashamed to do such disgrace to my family and I'm going to be, playing a big part, and I wrote this whole stupid speech to this thing, and I'm just dishonoring my family, so I'm just going to take my own life, go missing for a couple days,
Yeah.
And
he was shown that his request for retirement was declined right before his death. So he might have been like, there's no hope for me, Like, he might have just been like, I don't know what to do because I can't go back to work. I have to take care of my wife. How am I going to support this, And then to have his retirement be actually approved a day after his body was found is crazy.
This is so weird.
I know.
It's so good.
But yeah, those are just a few of the theories people thought had happened to Zygmunt. During the next 6 to 9 months, 69 months, 6 to 9.
7.
Oh no!
6, 7.
We're not having that on our podcast. We're not doing it. Take it back.
That's your 50%.
Take it back.
I'm just taking up my 50% here.
Okay.
She's
just kidding.
upset.
It's not that big of a deal.
No, it's not. It's funny. 6, 7, yeah.
But that's what people thought until we jump a little bit of time where Officer Godfrey has a experience. Remember, Alan Godfrey is the guy that was on scene to find Zygmunt's body with Malcolm Hagley, I think was his name.
Yeah.
So he has a experience that I can't wait to tell you about. I think this
Cool.
is where it really shifts and why I wear my alien beanie right now, if you can see on the YouTube channel.
You cannot.
I'm like, really? I took that so seriously.
No, I'm sorry.
On November 28th, 1980, Alan Godfrey, who was one of the officers who went to Zygmunt's crime scene, was working a different case where the police station got many calls that night about a herd of cows roaming through residential areas in town. Officer Godfrey drove around on his own looking for them, but there was no sign that there were any cows roaming about. No broken fences or trampled garden beds, so he started to assume that it was a prank, and he decided to head back to the station. When he got back to the station, they received a call that was even stranger than the previous calls. An elderly woman called the non-emergency line to say that she had seen a herd of cows on her front lawn in the street. The operator asked,
Are the cows still there?
at the same time preparing to send Officer Godfrey back out to the woman's address. But the caller didn't respond. She went quiet for a moment. Then the operator repeated her question, thinking the woman didn't hear. But the woman said, quote,
This is going to sound strange, but no, the cows are no longer here.
The operator responded by saying,
What way did they go?
the older woman said,
They didn't go any way. I saw a very bright flash of light coming from the outside, and the cows were just gone.
isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It's just the classic, like, cow in a beam of abduction light from a flying saucer.
Yeah, it's so strange. Numerous calls continued throughout the night, and Officer Godfrey's shift was coming to an end, so he agreed to go back out just one last time to not only drive around the area, but to check out backyards and fields on foot. Also, it was a rainy night, so that sucks for him.
Yeah.
The time was now around 5 a.m. And of course, he was pretty frustrated because he felt like this prank was eating up his time and he was just really tired of all of it. But also, it was stated that there wasn't much going on in Todmorden anyway, at least not since Zigmund Adamski's case. But imagine, it's a dark, rainy night in the middle of a remote town. Officer Godfrey gets back into his car and heads back through the still, sleepy, and quiet neighborhood. He turned onto Burnley Road, a road that led out of town, and it was very creepy in the middle of the night. No human in sight. Godfrey wasn't going anywhere specific, and he later wonders to himself if he had taken a right instead of a left, what would have happened? But that decision completely changes his life forever. As he was driving in the rain had stopped. He had the thought that he was now completely alone on the road with no one around for miles, when he was just in town surrounded by civilization. He thought to himself that he must not be totally alone, because there was a light just up ahead, a car coming the opposite way. As he came closer, he realized the light seemed to look like a bus, because that was sideways on the road.
Oh, weird.
But it was not that. He came to a stop about 20 yards away from the object. He froze, unable to understand what he was looking at. He then went to the radio, back to the station, but there was only static. So he didn't go back to the station. I don't know if I said that weird. He went back to call the radio, but it was just static.
Right. Okay.
Which was common for being so far out of town. And then he realized he was truly alone. Godfrey stayed in the car. Looking around his vehicle, he had a clipboard with a blank piece of paper. He decided to draw what he was looking at. The paper and pen were most likely used for drawing up traffic accidents, but this time he was drawing an object hovering about 5 feet off the ground, spinning counterclockwise. Beneath the object, there were leaves and branches lifting off the ground, spinning clockwise. So the object is spinning counterclockwise while the other things are going clockwise.
That's so cool.
I can't do it with my hands, but yeah, it's so interesting. And that's his picture. That was what he drew that night. If that's not the coolest fucking thing ever, I don't know what is. It's like diamond shaped.
The thing I love about it, like especially that first photo, and the mention of it looked like a sideways bus. Like that's so cool because I wonder if it was like a kind of like a camouflage type of thing.
Ooh,
you know, where
yeah.
it like kind of confused Godfrey into like, oh, it's just a, you know, it's a bus. I guess I'll just kind of turn this way or go around it, you know, but
yeah, super weird. It was about 20 feet wide and 14 feet tall.
damn.
So a big daddy.
Yeah.
It looked like a diamond shape that seemed to have black paneling. He could tell it was moving, but it didn't make a sound, and he didn't feel any vibrations from within his car. That's Godfrey drawing it again on a blackboard, that photo, which is really cool.
Very cool.
Godfrey was terrified, trying to jot down all the details he could when he suddenly heard a sound break the silence in his car. I have a few videos of Alan Godfrey explaining his encounter in his own words.
I was driving up the road here, and I was going to turn right up Fernley Road there to the council estate when I could see in front of me up here this object. It looked to be completely blocking the road. As I get nearer and nearer towards this object, I could see that it wasn't quite what I was expecting to meet at 5 o'clock or whatever on a November morning in Tomedin. It was diamond shaped. The bottom half of the object was spinning. It was hovering about 5 foot off the ground, and I could see underneath it. It was about 20 feet wide, 14 feet high.
Alpha Bravo 3 to Alpha Bravo Control. Message over. Try HQ.
I tried that several times and it just didn't work. I just couldn't contact anybody. So I picked my clipboard up and I started drawing a sketch of it.
Isn't that the coolest video ever?
I love the reenactment.
I love the
That's
reenactment
gold.
too. It's so good.
Cool.
So he, like I said, he heard like a sound break, and it was like a deep, loud swoosh, and then everything went white to him. Then a fraction of a second later, he was driving down the same road in the opposite direction, and he was 1,500 yards away from where he was just a fraction of a second ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
He hit his brake and looked in his driver's side mirror and didn't see the object anymore. It was just darkness. He looked at his watch, and a half an hour had gone by where he thought that this whole situation would have taken just about 5 minutes. So there's lost time as well.
So there's, oh my gosh. Yeah, dude, he was totally Men in Black fucking neuralized thing. That's pretty cool.
It's so cool.
Okay.
Godfrey tried to think of what to do next. He couldn't just go back to the station with this wild story. So on his way back, he found another officer who was on foot patrolling and asked him to come with him. Godfrey drove both of them back to the area where he saw the craft, where he told the other officer what had happened and what he had seen. The officer was skeptical at this at first, but when they arrived at the scene, the roads were wet from rain. But right in the middle of the road, there was a 20-foot across round dry spot with leaves and branches blown around the dry area. The round dry area seemed to be warm as well. Here is another account made by Alan Godfrey.
And then suddenly, I was at the other side of the object and it had gone. It had, was like another 50, 100 yards of the road driving.
What's up? You're not going to believe what I've just seen.
What?
Get in.
Okay.
So we got out of the
Looked
car
like a big diamond
and we
he was
examined
standing
the road
The other windows
surface, which
in the
was
bottom
like a
was
whirlpool dry. Something really hot had been hovering above there. We could see all these loose leaves and broken branches there. So he was convinced something had been there. We thought it might have gone in, this object, wherever it had gone, that might have gone into the adjoining park.
So around this road were very tall trees. The trees were just right at the edge of the road, super tall. And since the object was just 5 feet from the ground, the object had to have been in the road, like kind of under the trees in the road for Alan Godfrey to see this. Other than an opening in the road that went into a park. So the other officer suggested that maybe the thing that Godfrey saw went into the park. And so that's where they went to go search that area. Especially if it like disappeared so quickly. Their only thought was like, maybe it just disappeared so quickly into that clearing. You know,
Yeah.
like how could it get up and around and you know what I mean? In that fraction of a second. So the two men had climbed over a tall gate that was locked to go look inside. Godfrey really didn't think they'd find the craft in there, but it was worth a shot. Nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary, so they walked past a rugby field. But they took a second glance into the field and they saw them. The locked field was full of a herd of cows.
Dude.
Here is Alan's, in his own words, a video of him talking about this event.
We climbed into the park because the gates were locked and we had to climb across the river. When we got in there, we could see this herd of cows right in the middle of the rugby pitch. It had been raining all night, but there's no hoof prints belonging to them. How they got there, it just looked as though, plop, somebody dropped them there, you know?
So there was no hoof prints either. In the wet dirt.
Like something had just plopped them there, huh? Yeah.
That's awesome, huh? Like, when I was reading about this, I was like, oh my gosh. I was running circles in my bedroom. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, and then I'm like, I can't go tell Joe because I needed like have his reaction on the podcast. So I'm like sitting here like
newbie mind.
fidgeting, like fucking tweaking. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it took Rachel like
I had some dreams about this too.
it took Rachel everything in her body not to just fucking like word vomit all of this stuff to
Yeah.
me on the drive to work. You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
dude,
It's literally like 5 a.m. and we're driving to work and I'm like
Like-
yapping about this and Joe is like, oh
There's-
my god, it's 7 a.m.
there's zero context. She's just like, and they were just like, they just appeared there in the middle of this. I am so stoked about this because I think it's so weird, like all these time warps, you know, like just all these weird time things that happen. Like it's like this, like synchronicity is just happening 10 years later.
Yeah.
Like after this is just
Or
well
it's
figured
not
out.
10 years. I'm sorry. It's not 10 years. I accidentally wrote 10 years, but it's actually 10 months. My bad.
Oh, so
My
this
bad.
was 1980.
It was still
and-
1980. It was only a few months after what happened to
Ah,
Zigmund.
okay.
Yeah.
Even then, a couple
Still.
months later, you know, almost a year later, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now we're going to show up after everything's kind of calmed down and then maybe show a little hint at what we did with Zigmund, you know?
Yeah, and especially to the police officer that went to go identify Zigmund's body.
Yeah, very specific.
Isn't that so, like, the connection is just so synchronistic.
Yeah, it's like just here are our capabilities, maybe contributed to what we did to one of your kind,
Yeah.
you know?
The next day, Godfrey filed a report. Since Zigmund Adamski's death, the local news would call in every morning to ask if there was any updates for that case and for anything else they could print. Someone seemed to have leaked Godfrey's story, and within a few days, his story was everywhere, and it just blew up.
Oh, I'd leak it.
Annoying. That's so annoying.
I would leak it. It's like, this is a huge lead. Why are we not talking about this?
I guess that's true, but Godfrey's superiors had given him permission to do an interview. The chief had second thoughts about this, though, because now that the story was making bigger news, it didn't take the audience long to connect Zigmund Adamski's death to this encounter. Pretty much permanently stained the cold case as a UFO abduction murder case. Alien murderers. We just like lock them up. Life sentence.
Dude, that's not very far off. I mean, in the 80s now, what are you gonna do about that?
Dude, and like, I know this is so fucking stupid and like, duh, Rachel, but like, we're aliens. Like, we're aliens to like other species on other planets, you know?
That's the most Rachel thing I've ever heard in my life. We're aliens.
We are.
We are. You're
Like,
right.
look how weird we are. Like, we have 10 little like 3-inch tentacles off our hands to like grab stuff.
I poop
We poop.
and eat, and
We poop.
and we sex and stuff.
Yeah, like we procreate and we think it's like the most amazing thing, but really it's just two organisms
We are
coming
weird.
together to make a baby.
Yeah.
Like, sex isn't that sexy. You know what it is? Aliens.
Aliens are sexy.
And Bigfoot. Anyway. But Godfrey was not the only one who had seen something that night. Other locals phoned in reports of seeing a similar aircraft that night. A bus driver just started his morning route on the same road Godfrey had seen his encounter with when he stopped abruptly. He got out of his bus and looked to the ground to see a dry spot in the middle of the road. He then felt a strange wind that went up toward his head, but he said it didn't feel like it was wind. It was a completely vertical updraft of air. He just thought that it was strange, and he got back into his bus and drove away. He didn't question it too much until he heard the Officer Godfrey's experience. Weird, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I would look up. You know, like if I'm feeling like a vacuum sucking on top of me, a vacuum sucking.
A vucking?
A bucking?
A vacucking?
I would be like, what is that? And look up, right? But he
Yeah.
didn't.
He was just like-
he's like, that's weird. I'm going to get back in my bus.
Yeah, that's
Who's
weird.
driving this bus?
6, 7.
I'm trying to eat my chicken.
Then
there was another sighting by a school. Okay. Then there was another sighting by a school caretaker who was opening up the school for the day. He spotted in the corner of his eye. He looked up slightly to see a light in the dawn sky that couldn't have been a star or plane because it was moving in strange ways. He didn't know it at the time, but he was looking right in the direction of the same road Alan Godfrey had his experience. Here is the witness's account.
UFO was up in the sky, approximately over where I later learnt the area where Alan Godfrey had his experience. I didn't know at the time. Now the object shot across the valley 4 times, backwards and forwards, and it vanished over the hills.
Weird, huh?
very strange.
But the most credible sightings came from a group of police officers. 5 police officers were out searching for a stolen bike when they thought they spotted a motorcycle light, but what was weird about the light is that it had like a blue hue to it, and it was right at the top of the tree line in the sky floating. So no motorcycle up there, you know?
Yeah, that's not really where they reside.
No. All of them got a good look at the strange light, and then they all witnessed it shoot out into the sky. One of the police officers, John Porter, had his own account of this encounter.
Then there's John Porter, one of 5 other police witnesses that night. An hour before Alan Godfrey's encounter, he was out searching moorland quarries for stolen motorbikes.
We were walking down the moor from the main road. Something told me to turn around. I turned, and in the sky was a very cold steel blue light. It moved in a sweeping arc across the sky, about 12 miles, I would estimate, in 1 second. Eventually I went up the road and observed this same cold steel blue light sweeping away in a low arc towards Todmorden, and that's the last I saw of it.
At this point, many UFO investigators got involved, and one group convinced Alan Godfrey to do a hypnotic regression with 2 psychiatrists to see if they could dig up what happened in the lost time deep within his subconscious.
Yeah, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
That's such a good thing to do after this happens.
I realised that there was half an hour missing from me drawing the object to me turning up at the other side of where the object had been. I was really curious, I wanted to know what had happened in that half hour.
I persuaded him to undergo regression hypnosis, and 2 experiments were set up with 2 doctors who specialised in hypnosis. The hypnotic regression sessions were videotaped, and during them, Alan fills in the missing time, the gaps in his memory.
So, under hypnosis, Godfrey describes what had happened, but it took 2 separate sessions. They even filmed these sessions. Godfrey claimed to not remember what he said under hypnosis, so they played the sessions back to him. In the regression videos, he was lying down with his eyes shut. He first said that he could see a light up ahead. Once he sees this light in his subconscious, he throws his hands over his face and his heart monitor and the machines go crazy. Afterwards, he says that he was inside the object. Now, inside, he recollects that the room was a brilliant white, yet it was lit from nowhere. Does that remind you of something? The Dvorak brothers encounter? In our Dvorak brother encounter episode, the 2 brothers get invited into a UFO craft. And when they walk in, the first thing that they realize is that it's illuminated, but there's no source of light. Like, it's just coming from nowhere.
Weird.
Yeah.
Where was that again? The Dvorak brothers encounter?
Oh, God. It was like middle America. Middle America.
So,
wait, no, it wasn't. I don't remember. No, it was. It was Middle America.
So you're talking like Oklahoma?
You know what? I can look. I have the...
You have the powers?
Yeah, North Dakota, east of Killdeer.
Weird, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, once Alan Godfrey, after he notices the bright white of the room with no light illuminating, he met with a humanoid man calling himself Joseph or Yosef.
Yosef.
Joseph.
Interesting. Okay.
That's your name. That's your name.
Not with a Y though. Y's are for cowards.
Whoa. Chill.
But not this guy.
There was a man, and he was 6 feet tall with a beard, dressed in a white long robe, and he was wearing what looked like a skull cap. Beside the humanoid, there was 8 small creatures who were the size of children. They looked mechanical, with large black eyes and heads shaped like light bulbs. Godfrey, in the regression videos, referred to them as creatures, but also as robots.
This is very reminiscent of Betty and Barney Hill. Dude, the suppression of this, like he forgot about this traumatic experience, number 1. Number 2, just like the type of humanoids and aliens they came across, and the time gaps. Like, those are the 3 things that I'm like, dude, like, that's very similar to Betty and Barney.
Yeah. Which... that actually does come up later. So that's funny that you say that.
Excellent.
The little creatures laid him down on a bed, and once he got up on the bed, he noticed a large black dog staring at him. He then saw the robot-like creatures taking off his left shoe. Here, in an interview on BBC Breakfast Time TV show, Alan Godfrey did recount his regression session. Here's the video.
As I said before, I didn't get out of the car consciously. I find myself getting out of the car, and for some reason, I have no idea why, a strange, very powerful beam of light is shone towards me, which blinds me. I jump back in the car in panic, and then there is some sort of a blackout. And after the blackout, I wake up in some sort of an examination room.
I see. So, this spaceship, or whatever it is, did you see that in your recollected...
Yes, everything under hypnotic regression, everything was accurate right up to...
The bit that...
when I got out of the car, yes.
Okay, well, describe this creature to me, this man.
Well, he was a humanoid, or of human appearance. He's about 6 feet high.
But not quite a human being, you say.
Well, he had a human appearance.
Yeah.
He had a beard, and he wore some sort of a skull cap, and he wore like a white gown. He was very pleasant in appearance. He wasn't at all frightening to look at.
Okay, now you've got yourself into this room. What goes on there? Who else is there?
There were, I think I said there was 8 small 3-foot-high creatures that transpilated during the hypnotic regression as robots.
Were you in a normal room, or were you in a spaceship, rather like Doctor Who's time capsule? Were you in something as kind of
it looked bigger than his capsule.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't look very big, does it? Really? But inside it, yes, I would say it's very similar.
And then they tried to undress you, didn't they, at one point? Take your shoes and socks off. Why was that?
Well, this is one of the funny things about it. When I got back to the station, I found that my left boot was split, and I had a burn mark on the instep of my left foot. And in the hypnotic regression, they actually examined my left foot. Now that's remarkable to me, with the other evidence of the other police officers seeing the craft as well.
How did your experience end in this place you were with these people?
The doctor woke me up. We never actually got to an ending. I was wired up to some heart machines, and they completely went off the scale. I was in such stress that both doctors stopped the hypnotic regression.
Whoa, dude, what the fuck?
I know. What? He gets back to the station, and his boot is slit, and then he has a burn mark on his foot, the left foot, where in his regression the aliens examined, and then he never comes to an ending. Joe, sit down. Thank you very much.
You had many opportunities to do that. I didn't. So I'm taking it now.
Yes, it's just so bizarre how that happens. Right? Anyway.
Dude, just all the parallels. Like, they're just... This is the detective. Let's show him what we did to Zigmund.
Right? Like, there's a burn mark on his fucking foot. Zigmund's shoes and socks were taken off and put back on him. They didn't find any burn marks on his feet, but...
on his neck.
There's burn marks. And, like... he was woken up by the regression people because his heart monitors and all of the machines were going whack because he was in such stress.
Dude, his heart. Yo,
it all starts in the heart. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's hermetic.
Zigmund had a fucking heart attack.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
Later, Godfrey gets a letter sent to him from Moscow, where a man named Professor Zakharo. The letter was asking Godfrey for more information about the sighting and anything he knew about a similar event that happened in Surrey. Godfrey had no clue what he was talking about, but Godfrey's experience happened just a month before one of those infamous UFO sightings in British history, the Rendlesham Forest incident, which I don't know anything about, so maybe I'll do an episode on it. I wrote down what happened, I guess. I just don't remember this.
Okay, cool.
But essentially, between two nights in 1980, a military personnel at 2 force bases further south in England claimed to witness the UFO incident, with at least 2 men claiming that they had close contact with a mysterious craft that did sound similar to Godfrey's experience. There was the connection that both events had lost time. Godfrey was very cautious about responding to the Russian professor, but Godfrey's superiors told him to send a letter back anyway. So he got a letter from someone across the border of the Iron Curtain about what happened.
During the Cold War.
Someone, like an enemy, is asking him for his experience and anything he knows about another experience. That's not even on their side. It's actually in England. So it's like his experience in Todmorden. There's another experience in Surrey in the UK. Not even on like I'm not one to like pick sides here, nor am I saying that. It's just weird that someone who they don't trust is asking for information about UFOs. The Russians are asking.
Well, dude, it's during the Cold War. So like so many classified events all around the world of technology development. And then this strange stuff is happening between these two real contributors in this war, you know, asking for information and being kind of coy about like these experiences that are happening to civilians, you know, it's like, or, you know, people who were involved in something that happened a year earlier that, you know, may or may not have been a spy or somebody who was important in the information that was classified during this war. So, I mean, that's where my brain's going, at least.
Yeah. And again, Godfrey's superiors told him to send a letter back anyway.
Yeah.
They actually had Godfrey write the professor multiple times to see what he'd respond with. Not long after these exchanges, Godfrey was asked to go to the chief inspector's office. When he entered, there was a man sitting at the far end of the table that he did not recognize. So, of course, Godfrey was like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
The man simply said, "All you need to know is I am the man from the ministry." End quote.
All you need to know is I am the man from the ministry. Okay. Ministry?
Right? I'm like, I've never heard that before. He did not elaborate any further. The man was holding a very thick file in his hands, and as he opened it, Godfrey noticed the drawing he made during his encounter was right on top of the paperwork. Godfrey wasn't allowed to see the rest of the file, but assumed it was also contained the account of the evening's event, plus the report of the mysterious death of Zigmund Adamski. The man told Godfrey that he was to swear on the Official Secrets Act that he would not talk to anyone about what he had seen. Godfrey reluctantly agreed. The man from the ministry showed up multiple times after this. It seems like the man was trying to intimidate Godfrey by showing that he can follow him wherever he went. The man literally showed up to the pub where Alan Godfrey was enjoying a drink, and Godfrey was very annoyed, and so he told him in a matter-of-fact tone to leave him the fuck alone. And the man from the ministry did just that. He left him alone after this.
Weird.
Yeah.
I wonder a lot of things. Let's keep going.
Okay. After that, Alan Godfrey's life started to crumble. He was pretty much slowly pushed out of his job by the force, reassigning him to smaller roles, and a lot of people of the police force mocked him, made him feel crazy, and not fit enough to work for the police. At the time, I feel like the police force was taking a lot of their own inner feelings and projecting them onto Alan Godfrey, mainly because the Yorkshire police force was under a great deal of scrutiny from how they handled the Yorkshire Ripper case. And on top of that, this insane story of a UFO being linked to another unsolved death that they couldn't solve made them look really bad. So I feel like there was some sort of like projection, and they were all kind of like channeling all their anger into Alan.
I mean, how could they not? You know, I'm definitely, it sucks and they shouldn't have, but
yeah,
like even just being a witness to this and then having somebody on your own side, like just that being handled in a mysterious way a year earlier, and then now it's kind of coming up that this one officer is like kind of like acting out and being super public about this, even though we got the go ahead, it's still like, be careful, please, you know, don't be doing this. And then it kind of tumbles into this guy from the ministry and people from the enemy side asking questions about stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, this is a way bigger fish than I wanted to fry, you know?
Totally.
It's like, I would be upset and I would just want it to all go away. So they went straight to the source with that, I guess.
Yeah, and cases like this really make people not want to report what they see, There's a lot of times where I've done research on people and their encounters, especially one that we're going to definitely do in season 3. His name's Chris Bledsoe.
Oh yeah,
you guys should really go look that up and research his story because it's super cool. But there's been so many people from like the 1% or just like people who are very secret agents go up to Chris and tell him their story. And when he asks, why haven't you talked about this? They say that they would lose their authority. They would lose their jobs. There's no trust here. There's no, like, it's the worst thing in the world if you've had a UFO encounter or an abduction or anything like that.
Well, that's the thing is there's the curiosity over fear spectrum there that people are taking the side of fear.
Yeah.
People who are receiving stories from other people who are wanting to be curious about what they've experienced and what others have experienced. Like that's why I think that's a big reason why we're doing what we're doing is like, we're like, this is synchronicity in this case, and being open-minded and trying to understand or make theories and there's no seeking to understand. There's no curiosity.
Yeah. And like this has been something that me and Joe and T also have all been really interested in is how these things really connect. When you research one topic and then research another one that you're interested in, the more you go, the more things start to kind of fit together and unravel, and you can kind of understand when things are being hoaxed or not.
You start to see the patterns of these things that these people are experiencing in your own life.
Yeah.
Anybody who's interested in high strangeness sees the interest of high strangeness in their own life.
Totally.
I know, that's why we do listener lore. That's why we want to do it, is because we want to see what synchronicities happen in your life, and we want to be curious about you.
Totally. Yeah, give you an outlet to say what you need to say. Okay. But Alan Godfrey said that he was at the lowest point in his life at this point. He was drinking a bottle of whiskey a day. His marriage fell apart and he lost his home. His career was ruined and he felt like a laughingstock and that his whole community turned on him. Alan says in his own words,
I wish I'd never seen the UFO, particularly because of the effects on my children. He was later to reflect, it's not easy having a policeman as a father, but when he's a policeman who sees a UFO, it's even worse. I felt like that was kind of sacrilege for me to do the accent, but
the point was came across
cool
correctly, I feel like. But after all of this, he never wavered with his story. He still stands by his claims to this day, and more people kept seeing lights in the sky over the years. Since then, more people started to believe him because there was so many sightings. So much so that there was a support group made in the local area in Todmorden where people had a safe space to discuss their experiences together.
Love it.
May I add, I might say this later in my notes, but he stands by his claims of seeing a UFO that night. He does not stand by the claims of his regression session. He is actually a bit more skeptical of those because after his experience, he was just opened up to the whole world of high strangeness phenomenon. And he started reading books about things that had happened. He started to consume a lot of media, books, Betty and Barney Hill story.
Okay.
He really took all that and tried to understand what he saw that night. And so then when he did the regression session, maybe something within his subconscious and his memory of the research he did kind of blurred the lines of what actually happened and what he learned after the fact. So that was his reasoning. He was like, I'm not quite sure about the regression sessions or the Joseph humanoid or the 6 robots. I don't know. But he does stand by the fact 100% that he did see that UFO that night.
Well, it's very obvious that he is cognitively sound.
Yeah, he makes sense.
Yeah, like even I mean, that's what I think sometimes too. It's like if I have a dream or you are mentioning a dream that synchronistically kind of matches with what we're researching or an episode we just did, or, you know, any of our personal like high strangeness endeavors, like we have to always put out there that the subconscious mind likes to show us things that have been on our mind for days, weeks, months, years on end, you know? So it's like we can't base all of our experiences and confirmation off of just a dream, you know, or, you know, a regression session can act like that. I don't, you know, allegedly, I don't doubt that, you know?
Years later, Godfrey wrote a book that details his sighting and experience in his own words. He also does not really believe in hypnotic regression sessions, or at least his own. This is where, I guess, what I just said, I'm just going to repeat it anyway. Godfrey admits that these sessions happened a long time after his encounter, and within these months before he did the regression sessions, he had consumed a lot of books on UFO topics, mostly the abduction of Betty and Barney Hill. Since he doesn't remember what happened during his regression, he doesn't know what elements of what he recalls are from his own memory or from the research he did. In early 2018, Godfrey, now 70 years old, told the Yorkshire Examiner that the story he told under hypnosis was probably merely a dream, adding, quote,
I never said aliens abducted me.
End quote. However, he believes it's possible that aliens took Adamski.
I am open-minded. I can't rule it out.
In the Uncanny 2021 interview, Godfrey says, quote,
They've released all the UFO files now. Haven't they now from the Ministry of Defense? They've never released mine. Why? What are they hiding?
So they released all their UFO files, but none of Godfrey's.
Now from the Ministry of Defense.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. I'm like, what can I say? What can I say without like being like too opinionated?
That's the thing that really bugs me is like, here's some breadcrumbs out of this entire loaf of bread. You know, like,
yeah, figure out what the recipe is.
Whenever things that are classified come out, you know, we're going to reveal the files of, you know, such and such things.
Release the Epstein files.
Yeah. But, you know, when they release things like that, they never give you any additional information. If anything, they just give you validation of maybe some of the things you were saying were right, but they never give you any leads to believing in something concrete. You know? So it's like...
Yeah, it's just to keep us herded together.
It's always a letdown, you know?
Yeah. So, let's get into how Alan Godfrey's encounter and Zygmunt's death are commonly linked and the theories as to what happened to Zygmunt Adamski. Let's wrap it up in a beautiful bow. Yeah?
Yeah.
The most infamous theory of Zygmunt Adamski's death, however, is that of an alien abduction. This idea gained traction after Alan Godfrey, the constable who first responded to the scene, claimed to have encountered a UFO while investigating a case of missing cattle, and that he was placed on the pile of coals by a UFO. This theory was first encouraged by the coroner's remarks about how if he was told that Zygmunt could have been dropped off by a UFO, that he would only raise one eyebrow. Let's see that video because he is so freaking zesty and cunty.
If somebody proved to me that UFOs exist and that there was one around there at that time and that in some way we could associate it with this case, then perhaps I might say I'd only raise half an eyebrow.
Maybe not like zesty and cunty, but more just like he's just got like a little attitude. You know?
Well, he's just 100% right.
He's like, I only raise half an eyebrow.
Yeah. He's very sure of himself.
Joe, can you do that one thing where you like close only one eye? Other one. Yeah. That's so weird. Stop. Joe, stop. He's all the way up at the camera. I'm fucking doing this shit. to audio listeners, please go check out the YouTube. It is just so much more fun and entertaining to watch.
We got a thumbnail.
We got a thumbnail. Nice. Okay. It is unclear if the coroner meant that literally or if he was simply making a remark about just how strange this case was. At first, it sounded ridiculous to the police. So that statement right there that you just saw from the coroner was the first indication that people started to speculate that it was a UFO abduction. Like, he was the first one to say, if he was dropped off by a UFO, I would only raise one eyebrow. Like, he was the first one to say, could have been aliens. So that video that you just saw really sparked up this whole thing. And of course, that was like 6 to 9 months before Alan's experience. So it was like, coroner, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's kind of weird that you said that, because he was the one that like really did the autopsy on Zigmund's body. So if he's saying that, then that's crazy.
Yeah. I love that. Dude, just put your theory out there.
Yeah.
Put your ideas, and I mean,
say what you need to say.
If anybody, you're the person that should be like, it's like, my job is to investigate and then give the, the people I work for, the information, and they can draw a conclusion. But he's like, fuck it. I saw it. I discovered it. I'm going to draw my own conclusion,
As you should.
It's not official, but it's like, come on. Very opinionated, but have your opinions.
Right. There are several reasons why Adamski was connected to the UFO theory. He had obviously been somewhere during those 5 days, but no one had reported seeing him. And the way his body reappeared was just very odd. It was found in broad daylight on top of a coal pile without easy access, and in the vicinity of a busy railway line. So it's just all of the facts together. It just, like, UFO theory was just the biggest, most perfect theory. But like I said in the beginning, Todd Morton in West Yorkshire in the 70s and 80s had an increase in UFO sightings. During 1979 and 1980, locals reported sightings of strange lights in the sky, metallic objects, and UAPs. These reports continued for years, and the unsolved case of Zigmund Adamski fed the UFO conspiracy, leading many to believe that something seriously strange was going on in the area. Rumors went around stating that Zigmund Adamski was taken, experimented on via burn marks on his neck, and then returned. I personally think that this could be the case. Then came Alan Godfrey's encounter, and then it just snowballed from there.
Yeah.
So, big. I just kind of summarized it all.
This is the part where I get kind of frustrated, where I'm like,
I just want to know,
why did it stop? It's just, it always spirals out of control when that fear factor comes in. It's like, get fucking weird. Like, get weird with it, dude.
Get weird.
Like, just be comfortable with, like, a lead that doesn't make any sense. Go crazy with it.
Yeah.
Go stupid.
Go stupid or go home.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, second to last theory is the geology theory. A less conventional theory is that the geology of the area can produce a strange sight. Jenny Randalls, who is a British UFO researcher,
Associate, maybe.
Associate.
Yeah.
She says, quote,
"There are many reservoirs and quarries in the Toberton area. The local rock has a high concentration of quartz crystals."
Whoa! Okay, sorry.
Scientists have found that this could produce an electrical signal on a grand scale might turn out to be glowing masses of energy, which can be seen as UFOs. It's also been found that this could affect the human mind and make people see images.
Weird. That's weird, huh?
So many things I could say about that.
I'm just gonna leave that there with you.
Yeah.
Next theory is family murder theory, which we've kind of already touched on with the whole Poland ancestors, Poland family. But this is where I can kind of express to you what people theorize the burn marks are if it's not a UFO abduction case. So there is some speculation out there that Zigmund Adamski was murdered by someone connected to his family or someone within his family. There is a podcast that I was listening to at work called Astonishing Legends. Love them
Shout out
so
Astonishing
much.
Legends.
The host interviewed a man named Philip Mantle, who is a British UFO expert and has lots of books on the matter. But Philip Mantle has a close connection to Zigmund Adamski. Philip Mantle's dad worked with Zigmund Adamski for a good part of his life. They carpooled together and worked similar shifts. So Philip Mantle has seen him. Like he talks about this memory where he was sitting on his couch looking outside on the front door, seeing his dad leave for work, and Zigmund get out of the car and go to the passenger side while his dad went to the driver's side. Like, he's seen the man.
Interesting.
And so he's talking to the hosts of Astonishing Legends about this. And it's just the coolest thing.
That's
you guys should
really
go
cool.
check it out. Philip says that he believes in Alan Godfrey's experience, but doesn't think that the two cases are connected. Apparently, according to the other coal miners that worked with Zigmund Adamski, they said that Zygmunt and his wife were having personal issues. She wanted to move back to Poland to be with the rest of their family, but Zygmunt was very against the idea. The theory goes that the family essentially kidnapped him. During the 5 days he was missing, they held him, took care of him, but wouldn't let him leave until he agreed to go back to Poland. I know that this all seems so far-fetched, but the theory continues that Zygmunt tried to escape, and as he struggled, he knocked over tins that were full of a sort of substance that burned his skin, and that whoever was holding him tried to treat the wounds. But with all the stress of the incident, he had had a heart attack. The people took him far away from his home in Tingley to Todmorden, where they dumped his body where they saw fit. But before the police could identify the people who kidnapped him, they flew back to Poland. That's kind of that's so far-fetched to me. I kind of laugh at that.
I agree. I mean, I don't
And
know.
I'm not saying that Philip Mantle agrees with this. When he was talking about this on Astonishing Legends, he was like kind of saying it like they believe that this happened.
I mean,
I'm not
possibly.
saying he was the one that told, like, that I got the information from, that's what people maybe thought would,
Yeah.
you know, what they thought happened to the burn marks, or what the story behind that was.
Yeah, something a bit more down to earth to shoot out there, I guess. But, you know, if you were to kind of flip things and kind of put things in order and try and contribute all the theories smashed together in one giant sandwich, you could say that, you know, this family drama and all of this political stuff around the Cold War and the Iron Curtain, you know, this could have happened on a more worldly, humanistic basis. And all of the UFO sightings and, you know, stuff in Godfrey's regression session, all of this stuff could have been a side effect of the time and place and you know, just the happenstance of what this was doing, you know, like the quartz thing, you know, like it's just like a place where high strangeness happens to occur a lot, you know, and energy is definitely reflected on emotions and commotions of other things that emanate energy, you know, and so it's like these things could be bouncing between each other and happening around the same time, but it doesn't naturally contribute to each other, you know, like it doesn't have an exact connection. They never touched, but they just kind of coexisted together. And so obviously people, when they see two things happening that are kind of similar, will want to smash those two things together or just call it one or the other, you know. So it could just be these two things coexisting, and, you know, maybe at some point with, you know, some of the evidence of like the burn marks and the weird ointment, like that could be the only connection that we see here.
Yeah, totally. And who knows, like maybe the like higher ups, you know, hide all of those UFO abduction cases that are actually true, and they hide those to further study and not let the people know, but they do let out the ones that, you know, they're like, I don't know. And then they kind of orchestrated it themselves, thinking, like, wanting people to try and feel like they're doing something by solving the Zigmund Adamski case with Alan Godfrey's experience. And like sometimes there's things that are just so like kind of that are just fed to us to think and believe, that we just think and believe, and we think that we have figured it out, you know, but really there's other things going on behind the scene, and maybe that could have been a distraction to something else that was happening. I don't know. But to me, like with what you said, Joe, with the whole like we want to put them together, but it's just strange how there's so many UFO sightings and things that are hidden from like either by the government or by whoever, but yet those two ones are just so prominent, and like the government and everybody let them, you know, review it and interview them and like talk about all of these facts and what happened, that it's like it's kind of like it's kind of just like suspicious, you know.
The thing that is always commonly missed whenever I see an abduction story, or any high strangeness story for that matter, is could it have also been us, the part of us that we don't know about? Why are things classified? It's because things that happen that fall out of that classification, some of the details that slip, like this case of Zigmund, happened because of maybe what people were doing in Poland or the UK that regular society and regular police stations are not to know about, you know? So was it actually just the advanced classified version of us that did that to Zigmund? Not aliens from another planet or another dimension. Was it the government that had classified weapons and ideas that, you know, were used to cover this up? Or maybe they were experimenting in some way with Zigmund for this, you know?
Yeah, and I'm sorry to burst anyone's bubble, but it's pretty obvious that we're very orchestrated and we're very influenced, and we're a bit herded sheep, us working class. I feel like sometimes, especially with those who don't really look into these things and kind of go day to day with, you know, like following trends and like, you know, really taking what people say on social media very seriously. And like those people who really kind of believe anything that they read, I don't know, like I'm just saying that there's kind of like a group of people, including us, who just like kind of go day to day without really, kind of on autopilot, and we're kind of sleeping a little bit. And I feel like sometimes people who are bigger than the government, people who aren't part of the whole, like the big 1%, have a big hand in orchestrating how we think and how we feel and how we're manipulated to live our lives, and how we, you know, can easily make them more money, and how we can easily birth more babies for more birth certificates so they can make more money. Like there's just so much out there that is just like, sorry, I'm kind of going off. But sometimes I really look at cases like this where there's two obvious cases that are separated that have so many little connected points that make you question reality and make you question everything else. And so that's what it did for me. But sometimes I even want to look further than that and question that and say like, hey, well, maybe they want us to just focus on this. Maybe there's something else going on that they're like wanting us to look at, you know, they don't want us to look at. As
you can see and think, you know, it's very easy to be conspiratorial.
Yeah. Me.
Well, no, both of us. I mean, all of us here, you know, and it's like, they're just theories. There's extremely, like, this is a very little amount of evidence and research that we've done to draw these big drastic conclusions. It's entertaining at the very least, you know? And so it's like, it's easy to get concerned with your own entertainment and the way your mind likes to think about things. But I'm never going to shut down that anything could be a possibility, you know?
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say.
Totally. Yeah, I know I kind of went off, but it's just some of the things that I just, you know, be aware of just what you consume every day, and, you know, spend time with yourself, get off TikTok and Instagram and go
touch some grass,
bro.
Go
call a loved one, go touch some grass. Like, that's kind of all I'm saying is just like, sometimes you don't need to be you know, always stimulated by dopamine, you know? Anyway, that's beside the point. Let's get back to Philip Mantle on Astonishing Legends. So Philip Mantle was working at the headquarters of the Yorkshire UFO Society when he received a call from a woman claiming that she was the niece of Zigmund Adamski, who was getting married at the time Zigmund Adamski went missing.
Wow.
She pretty much laid out this whole theory that I'm telling you, like it's what actually happened. Philip urged her to call the police, but they never heard from her again. So, sorry, I know we went on a tangent, but she pretty much called Philip Mantle and said, hey, like while I was getting married, there was people in my family in Poland who took Zygmunt Adamski, and then all of this stuff happened. And I just know a few, information, a little bit more information. I don't know exactly what she said, but something along the lines of that. And so Philip Mantle was like, you should call the police about that. And she was like, okay, I will. But she never did, nor did she ever talk to Philip again.
Just speculations left and right. Here's another conspiracy. Boom.
Yeah.
Like, she was definitely paid to say that to him, because this is coming up in popularity again.
Yeah, but on the phone call, she never named the men who took him, Zygmunt Adamski.
No, but it's just to throw a misdirection,
Right, and it could easily be somebody. Yeah, it could easily be somebody who's just pretending to be her, and just to say shit like that to spur,
Yeah, it can get very out of hand very quickly.
Yeah, but that's what he brought up, and I was like, that's very interesting. And like I said, like what we just said, this could be disinformation because it appears that she went out of her way to find the contact information of the small UFO group rather than just calling the police. But other than like that whole situation with her calling in and maybe like the acid hitting his neck when he fell out of wherever he was being held, this theory is still one of the more realistic ones. In 2008, 2 British UFO investigators looked at this case again. According to reports, they discovered that when he disappeared, Adamski was in the midst of a feud with a family member who was having marital problems and had moved in with the Adamski couple. They believed that Adamski's disappearance may have been an abduction linked to the feud. However, Alan Godfrey said, quote,
"We had no reason to suspect any family members."
Right, because he was like one of the main guys to investigate this. So yeah, I don't really know, but there might just be something going on with his family. Someone in there was just some sort of feud or miscommunication that they might have accidentally killed him and didn't know that he was going to have a heart attack. You never know. But the mystery of Zygmunt Adamski remains one of Britain's most haunting unsolved cases, a story that reflects both the fears and fascinations of its time. His strange death, marked by unexplainable injuries, a mysterious ointment, and the absence of any clear motive, defied rational explanation and captured the public's imagination. Set against the backdrop of the 1980s Britain, when distrust in authority and fascination with the paranormal were growing, the case became more than a tragedy. It became a mirror of a society grappling with uncertainty. Theories ranging from family conflict to alien abduction reveals how people try to find meaning in what cannot be fully understood. Let me say that again. Theories ranging from family conflict to alien abduction reveal how people try to find meaning in what cannot be fully understood.
That's how you get conspiratorial like us two goobers over here.
Yeah, I needed to say that again for me.
I just don't get it. That's why.
I just don't know, okay? In the end, what makes the Adamski case so enduring is not its lack of answers, but what that absence reveals. It reminds us that some mysteries resist resolution, forcing us to confront the limits of our knowledge and our deep need to explain the unexplainable. In remembering Zygmunt Adamski, we remember a quiet worker, a husband, a soul caught in something far larger than himself. His case stands as a haunting reminder of humanity's limits, our hunger for meaning, and the quiet tragedy of a life lost to the unknown. And that's the story of Zygmunt Adamski. And Alan Godfrey, I guess.
Yeah. Holy shit, you guys.
I'm like, okay, this was my favorite this season.
I'm
just gonna say that right now.
I've done all of the research and notes for this whole season,
Yes.
and we're pretty much done. And I have told Joe many times that this case is my favorite one. This one and our season finale. Those two have just blown my mind, and I honestly just can't wait to do more seasons of this and learn more and have more information. And you guys are kind of just following along with us. You know, you're learning these things as we go too. And so I'm very grateful for this podcast, and it's given me a bit of a new way of learning all about the high strangest stuff, you know?
It's a beautiful thing. It's a very, very wonderful thing. We're very grateful to you guys, those who are just starting out with us and watching us, and you know, you guys ask really good questions, and we want to hear more tenfold. You know, just as much as I question things, I know you guys do too. So with that, you know where to find us. You know where we are. You know what we need from you, and we want to know what you need from us as well. Please, before I give you your keys or your remote control, drive home, walk home, fly home, beam home, teleport home safely. We'll see you guys in the next one. That was Zigmund Adamski. God rest his soul.
Peace.
Goodbye. Damn, bitch.